Yeah, that's really, let's break that down. The painful thing is that it was probably the most course. Just to say, it's about giving you a very quick start. So we're going to have a lot of people on this recording. Hopefully it'll be a good one. No worries. See ya. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get to it. It is a big day today. You can see there's a big crowd in the room, or maybe not. There are a ton of teams and companies on campus. It is Career Fair, okay? Have any of you been to Career Fair? Spent some time in those lines? I remember how it felt standing there, trying to smile, trying to act calm, and not my favorite environment, to be honest with you. After I got out of that situation, after I knew I wouldn't have to do many interviews from then on, it was really, really fun to actually walk through the crowd and be able to just kind of be chill, okay? Not worry about interviewing, not worrying about my resume, my portfolio, all that stuff. So I wish you luck, okay? Eventually, you will get a reprieve. Eventually, you won't be doing a whole lot of interviewing anymore, and that's going to feel really good. Okay, so it's a pretty big day, all right? You turned in your tutorial 1 and, your tutorial VR, tutorial AR. Those are not super easy assignments, right? They're not super hard, but they do take a lot of time, don't they? How'd they go? You all get them turned in? If not, you've got another 24 hours, not a huge deal. There will be a penalty on that, but make sure if you haven't submitted that you submit something, okay? Even if it's incomplete. So, today marks the launch of your first project, P1. In fact, I've got a note right here to remind me to disable team formation. If you've got a team already, that's fantastic. If you don't have a team yet, that's okay. All right? So tonight, after the lecture's finished, after office hours, I'm going to go through and you'll get a random team if you've not chosen one. And that often goes just fine. However, I'll say once more that the ability to choose who you work with is one of the most powerful abilities that you can have in industry, in academia, when you're doing research. It's pretty important stuff, okay? So once you find people that you work well with, don't let them go, okay? Try and find people that you work well with, and that will make your development experience way, way, way better, okay? All right. So if you look at our schedule, we've got our first P1 assignment launching today. You're going to have 7 days to work on it, and it's not too difficult of an assignment. You're going to be setting up that first project. You're going to be working on some pretty basic tasks to get started, and you will be able to follow along with what we're doing today. You'll be able to watch the recording. You can take notes today if you want to. And you're going to get a humongous head start on this first project, okay? A vast head start. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a lot of programming together. Hopefully that goes pretty well. It's always a little bit dicey with Unreal on a laptop and these very old, very cheap headsets. So hopefully that goes okay. We are currently working on that Culture 1 assignment. So you can either watch the matrix on your own and write an essay, or you can hang out until the final day, 8 p.m., probably in Dow someplace. I'll announce once I know exactly where we're going to be. And you show up, and you're going to get all those points, okay? Otherwise, please turn your essay in to get those points. You've also got P1 Project Management launching today as well. That is an assignment that lasts for the duration of Project 1, so about 3 weeks. We'll talk more about what those assignments mean and how to do them in just a little bit, okay? Before we get to that, I've got a pretty cool company that I want to show you. So XR, we've seen in the past that, especially it seems when it comes to medicine, XR really has kind of found its niche. found its groove, okay? And this is another startup aimed at medicine. This is in Massachusetts, which is an absolutely humongous place for medical innovation. They have 185 million in funding, which is quite a bit more than the smaller startups we've been looking at thus far. The basic idea here is we want to create a surgical robot that we can insert into your abdomen, and then we want doctors to be able to look around on the network and be able to see inside of your abdomen, inside of your stomach, be able to manipulate little arms to fix things up. And we want the doctors to be able to kind of control this robot effectively, safely, and so this is a robot that you can actually use VR with, okay? Let's take a look. This is Vicarious Surgical. We'll go ahead and watch the video.
At Vicarious Surgical, we are inspired by the opportunity to improve patient lives. We are developing the next-generation, life-changing medical technology through the blending of robotics, computer science, and advanced visualization. In the operating room, the smallest details make the biggest difference. Surgeons today are limited to standard laparoscopic tools that are straight, have limited dexterity, and require multiple incision sites, or robotic platforms that have either large, cumbersome architectures with wrist-on-a-stick technology, or a single incision site with low forces and large incisions. Surgeons deserve something better, which is why Vicarious Surgical is reimagining surgical robotics to be less invasive and more capable. With just one small 1.8 centimeter incision, the Vicarious Surgical robot maximizes surgeon abdominal access and visualization. The very core of our innovative technology is our proprietary decoupled actuator that has allowed us to re-engineer single-port robotics and redefine robotic motion with an impressive 9 degrees of freedom per arm. Not only are we able to put wrists inside the abdomen, but also elbows and shoulders that replicate the surgeon's natural movement and create unprecedented dexterity and range of motion. Once inserted, the robot's camera and instrument arms are precisely configured for surgeon control, designed to allow for multi-quadrant access to patient anatomy. The arms and camera move freely in all directions, downward, sideways, upward, and even backward, designed to give the surgeon 360 degrees of visualization and unparalleled access to critical anatomy from any entry point. The surgeon experiences movement that feels natural while maintaining precise control and the ability to grasp or dissect. Now the surgeon can focus on performing the procedure rather than how to control the robot. The Vicarious Surgical System has just 2 pieces of capital equipment, the surgeon console and the patient cart. Both units are compact and portable, taking up a fraction of the space of existing robotic solutions. Due to its differentiated architecture, the Vicarious platform is cost-effective and easy to integrate, making it accessible to all ORs, hospitals, and surgical centers. This efficient design enables easy access around the patient, improves workflow, and saves valuable OR and training time. We are revolutionizing robotic surgery to bridge the robotic gap and empower surgeons to more safely and efficiently treat their patients, creating a future where everyone has access to the latest surgical innovations.
Okay, so there you go. If you're wondering where the VR headset was in there, in past versions of this video, they would show footage of one of the interface options, which allows a surgeon to put on a VR headset and use that to control the robot and kind of look around and get a feel for things inside of the patient. However, that was not on focus there. So I wonder if they're still doing that. In any case, however, it's an interesting robot. So let's see if we can answer the questions that we always care about: novelty, social impact, financial sustainability, and XR emphasis. We'll look around the website just a little bit. One small incision. The idea here is that you really, and if it was hard to tell the size of this robot, you need an incision the size of a dime. Okay, so a small incision in order to slip this robot in to a patient, at which point the patient, the robot can kind of unfurl and give the doctors a good visualization of what's happening inside, and also give them the ability to manipulate things if they need to. Okay? So smaller than a dime, the smaller that incision is, the less damage is done to the patient. You don't want to have to open them up completely to get in there, and this allows that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Freedom of movement. The fact that you can't, this is more than just a camera. You can really get in there, and you have the ability to grab things, the little pincers. You have the ability to suture in there as well if you want to. Like the dexterity here is almost creepy. Like looking at this GIF, it almost looks like there's a little alien inside, right? And this makes it look quite big, but in reality, it's fairly small. Anyway, pretty impressive stuff. Access, so centered pivoting inside the abdomen, is designed for the surgeon to work from any direction through any entry point. Complete 360-degree visibility with immersive 3D visualization. Vicarious circular, blah, 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 stereoscopic imaging of the patient's anatomy, and full responsiveness to the surgeon's movements. It all happens inside. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Good, good, good. Yep, yep, yep. Nimble, patient cart, surgeon console. So the video actually said that this is a fairly cost-effective way to do this, much cheaper than alternative solutions, and yet we can't actually get any pricing information, can we? Okay, well, what happens when we request information? Okay, first name, last name, email, specialty, okay, and country. I'm guessing, depending on your specialty, depending on the country that you specify, the price of this system, the cost might actually change. And I'm guessing that this isn't just a one-time purchase. This is also going to involve some sort of support contract or some sort of ongoing fee as well. But it's hard to tell. It would be very nice if the website at least gave us a ballpark. Let's see. It looks like they are hiring, possibly. Yeah, they do have some open positions in R&D, hardware, and quality Q&A. So that's good. They've got an investors page. When you've taken several $100 million, you need to communicate with all those people who lent you money. You need to keep them informed. Otherwise, they might try and replace you. Let's see here. What else? What else? What do we got? News. So a little bit of a lackadaisical website. A question. We have this news page with a bunch of articles here. It's nice that the company is kind of keeping people up to date with what they're doing. What's another reason that a company looking for visibility might want to publish some blog posts, some articles, some news from time to time, talking about topics surrounding their business? What benefits could you get? What do you got? Jacob? Go for it. Why would you want to publish the occasional news article or blog?
Well, I mean, you want your prospective users to be informed.
Yep.
So that honestly, you could develop brand loyalty before your product even comes out.
Okay. Yep.
You can also use it to get investment.
Yep. That's absolutely a part of it. Keep people informed. Another thing, when someone Googles, right, surgical robot miniature, right, you want to be the one that pops up. You want to be at least on the first page. And if you know anything about SEO, your website will become more popular the more articles that you put out. The more people read and go to your website, the more other websites link to your website, the better your page rankings will be. And so if you're putting out information, if you're becoming an educational resource, that is very likely to boost your visibility in search engines, okay? So a pretty good thing to do. You'll find many startups doing this kind of thing, at least in part for that reason, okay? So a pretty cool company, novelty, right? Pretty novel. Very small robot, easy to insert into an abdomen. for repair, the expressiveness of the interface, right? The articulation of the robot's limbs. You can do some very impressive stuff with it. However, if you think about XR emphasis, we've seen that this robot doesn't need XR, right? In fact, we didn't even see any footage of the doctors using VR to control the robot. That used to be a thing on their website. So there are clearly alternatives to using VR and AR when it comes to this robot. You can use a traditional interface. You can use kind of whatever that module the surgical medical professional was at. And so it's clear XR is not a huge emphasis of this product, which is probably its biggest issue. The website does not really provide us much information on financial sustainability, which is disappointing as well. The social impact, however, is pretty easy to imagine, okay? If you can lower the cost of doing surgery, if you can make it safer, if you can improve recovery times by making a smaller incision, then that is going to have a very positive impact on anyone who goes through that procedure, okay? So a pretty impressive company, though there are things that that we'd like to see improved as well, okay? And we wish them the best. All right. A quick note, question, how many of you have actually played the game at EECS440.com? How many of you found that, right? Okay, that makes me super happy. A lot of people don't notice it. The reason I had to put the blinking arrow in was I was doing tests and only about 20% of people who visited the website found this little game. I can see, a bunch of other people there as well. And one of them is playing. One of them is active. I'm not sure what this dog is doing. But this is a pretty tough game. And it's a game in development. And as the semesters go on, even as the weeks go on, I'm going to make it a bit tougher. It's going to get more content. I probably won't make it too much tougher, but I'll spread that difficulty curve out so it's a little bit less of a difficulty cliff. In any case, if you play through this game, you record it, you upload it to YouTube, and you have the webcam to show me you're there playing it, you get a sticker, okay, to prove that you beat it, okay? You get to the end, you get to the to be continued sign, and you'll get a cool little sticker, which I think came out really well. The 494 students really wanted a sticker. They were proud of beating the game, and so I made a bunch for you as well. So anyway, I wish you luck if you want to take a crack at that. It was very fun to make. If you have any questions about how to add something like this to your website, let me know, okay? Web dev is really, really cool. Okay, so yep, and the directions are right here. You can throw your uploaded video into the Exhibition May and Mags channel, just like I did last night, and you will get your sticker. Just come up to me and show me it's there, okay? All right, one really interesting thing came up recently. So Horizon Worlds is Mark Zuckerberg's kind of big metaverse play, okay? With the Quest series of hardware headsets, right? A very impressive series of headsets, very well respected, comes a bunch of software. And Mark Zuckerberg created, his team created Horizon Worlds. And this is what your avatar looks like in Horizon Worlds, right? Looks a bit different from VR chat, looks a bit different from a rec room, okay? But when you play the game, this is what people look like. Now, you might notice the cartoony art style, but what really stands out to me is that no one has a lower half, okay? Now, this may have changed recently. Mark advertised that the avatars were going to get lower halves, but this is how Horizon Worlds was for quite a while. Now, one interesting thing, I was talking with some of the heads of some of the local studios, and they gave me insights into why this is done. Why do you think it was done? Right? Why were the characters designed this way? Yeah.
To avoid controversy.
Okay, well done. So, to avoid controversy. So, when I saw this, my first impression was, Horizon Worlds has to run on these pretty cheap, kind of underpowered mobile chipsets that you find in the MetaQuest lines, right? And so you can save a lot of processing power, a lot of GPU power, if you don't have to render the entire human. And especially if you don't have to render animations that might involve legs, okay? If you have a ton of people in one area, that could cause lag, and lag is a total no-go in VR. It might cause people to get sick, right? But in fact, the studio heads brought up what you suggested. One of the huge reasons is moderation, okay? Moderation. Compare to VR chat. Right? The footage here, you've got characters of a very wide variety that have legs, and that's really, really cool. It's really fun, right? I'll tell you my first experience in VR chat. How many of you have used VR chat? Any of you? Okay, so I get into VR chat. It's kind of cool. I'm walking around. I choose a cool kind of dark and moody club, right? Neon lights. Looks kind of cool, so I spawn in, and I don't really see anyone, but in the distance I hear something. So I'm warping around, I'm walking around, I head up to the top floor, and I see a bunch of anthropomorphic animal characters, furries, right? And they're doing something in the corner that I can't really talk about or describe here, right? And that was, I guess, my first taste of the VR community, which can be a pretty spicy community, okay? And so that was very fun for them. I think people like VR chat because you don't quite know what you're going to get, and anything can happen, from the most wholesome stuff to really weird stuff to spicy stuff. You know what? That's fun, maybe, but that's not good for who? Players might enjoy that well enough. The developers might not care, but you know who really doesn't like that? All that spiciness? Parents, maybe, yeah. Sponsors, advertisers, right? One of the problems that Meta's metaverse has run into is that if you want to replace real life, well, real life is really gritty, right? It's a bit nasty sometimes. It's spicy, but these things aren't necessarily negative. They're part of what makes real life really interesting, okay? Exciting. Right? From the wholesome to the spicy to the weird. And in a metaverse, like where you need to get advertisers in there, sponsors, like that becomes really hard. So maybe it's no surprise that Mr. Zuckerberg wasn't able to create an appealing metaverse. His incentives are all wrong, okay? He's in the business of making money, and that means really sterile stuff like this. Anyway, it's interesting to think about. Now, they are bringing in legs. They have folded, and I wonder if that has made moderation harder. I'll bet you it has. So, anyway. Okay, the XR Equipment Lottery has concluded. If you haven't been contacted by email, we probably won't have a VR headset for you this semester. I apologize. Please let me know if the situation is really bad for you, okay? Like, for some reason, you can't get to the Viz Studio consistently. Let me know. Maybe there's something we can figure out in terms of getting you some hardware. Note, there are some other resources on campus. The Center for Academic Innovation has their own treasure trove of VR hardware that you might be able to check out. In the past, some of our students have had success with that. So, don't give up hope, but yeah, our supply is definitely gone. Okay. All right. So let's talk about Project One. All right, Project One. Project One. What's the value in preserving history? Okay, it's a topic that maybe isn't super essential to you right now, but there will come a time when you will be nostalgic for the past, when you will maybe not from nostalgia, but from essential research, right? Want to go back to get a feel for how things were. What was the experience of a CSE student in 2024? What was that like? Well, if you can capture that digitally, then we can preserve those memories into the future, all right? And that's part of what this project is about. So, Project One, right? We're doing CSE Simulator. This is a project that's kind of derived from the famous Job Simulator game, a very popular game. Have you seen it? Let's go ahead and actually take a look. Here we are. Oh, Oh, maybe not. When I make it really small, for some reason it doesn't want to run. Let's look it up over here. Job Simulator launch trailer. Okay. Hello. Launch trailer. Here we go. Let's take a look.
Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to an accurate simulation of office worker. Time to job. This looks like it'll taste interesting. Pistons in the engine, don't need those. Delicious. Oh no, the boss bot is coming. Hey, you were doing good job. Looks like I've got some money to blow. Shred everything for legal reasons.
Today's not your lucky day, pal. Open that safe.
Holy smokes, this is way too hot. You've been doing a really good job lately. I think it's about time you got a promotion.
Hooray! It's 5 o'clock! Woohoo! It's time to go home!
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask you to come in on Saturday.
If you get a chance to play this game, I'm not sure if they have it on the machines here, but I do recommend it. It's a very, very fun game. When you say, hey, we're going to make an app that lets you experience what it's like to be a cubicle office worker, right? When the developers, the designers put in a robot that walks up and asks for a TPS report, or walks up and says, hey, you've done a great job, would you like a promotion, right? You get a sense of what the developers think about the life of a cubicle worker, don't you? Is this a positive thing? Are they all gung-ho on the life of a cubicle worker? They think everything's just perfect and peachy? When you watch a trailer like this, you haven't played the game, but can you feel any emotion coming from the developers here as they put you into these jobs? What do they think of the jobs that they've created? Yeah.
They probably think that they're like absurd in some way. So they exaggerate it for the game.
Exactly. Bingo. Right? Everything in this game is exaggerated. Okay? There are a lot of things in this game that are a little bit cynical, right? You show up in this cubicle scenario and you don't really do anything the entire day. You are hiring people and firing people at random with a gigantic stamp, a stamp machine. Okay? You are asked to shred papers, and when they tell you why, they just say, for legal reasons, right? You get the sense that the developers and designers were not very happy with how the life of a cubicle worker is, and they're playing up these kind of jokes in order to emphasize that. In other words, this simulator would never be described as 100% accurate, but in a way, it imparts more meaning than you think it does. In a way, this is the most accurate experience of being a cubicle worker that has ever been committed to VR, all right? You can feel the anxiousness and the frustration of people who probably were cubicle workers, all right? Pencil pushers. And so, what you're doing here over the next 3 weeks, you're going to be thinking about what is it like to be a CSE student, okay? What is it like to be in the laboratory at late hours, to be messing with autograders that maybe break down, okay? Talking with students who have been awake for 48 hours, okay? Surrounded by very unhealthy energy drinks, okay? I encourage you to think and reflect on what your CSE time has been like, and whatever you feel, be an artist, okay? Put those things into your project, even if maybe they didn't quite happen that way, all right? get the feeling right. Anyhow, that's what Job Simulator does, okay? It's an exaggeration of the life of an office worker, but in some ways, it is more true, at least to feeling, than real life would be. Okay, so we're going to be recreating a historical space. And you can see over here, right, Titanic VR, Everest VR. The ability to take a space that exists and to encode it into the digital world preserves it for, hopefully, the rest of time, or at least a very long time. The ability to take someone, put them in VR, and then immerse them in the past is very powerful for helping them understand the past and thus gain access to the future. You see that in a very academic sense in titles like Titanic VR and Everest VR, and you see that in a very artistic and expressive sense in projects like Job Simulator, okay? And so you're going to be doing that, but you're going to be doing that with your own experience at CSE. So this room right here is long gone. It's the office, it's the laboratory at the corner of the BBB building. Now, this laboratory was remade as part of the Leinweber building extension. And so it now looks different. You will have the choice of rebuilding this version from the past, and you'll have photos to help you get a feel for what it was like. Or you can create the new version, okay, of that room. How many of you have been to that room or into it, right? It has a very different vibe now. It's quieter, right? It has fewer computers, but it's a little bit more of a collaborative space. There are rooms where you can get together with a team and kind of shield out the noise, close the doors. It's a little bit more intimate of a space, a little bit less open. And you can choose which version you want to create, okay? You will also get to choose who you put in it and what those characters will say when you talk to them. We'll talk about that in just a bit. In this first week, you will be blocking out the space. Whatever design you choose to recreate that room in, you'll be blocking out that space, gray boxing it, as we call it. So you'll be positioning some lights, you'll be positioning objects to kind of gray box the space out, and then eventually you will be filling things out and adding more detail. For instance, you'll be adding things like windows so that light can pour in, people can see the space properly, all right? You'll be adding materials, textures, okay, maps, UV maps, in order to get things and walls and floors and ceilings looking right. Okay, you'll be importing 3D models, copy machines, whiteboards, right? And stuff like that. And most importantly, you'll be bringing this space to life with interactivity. The most important part, in my opinion, right? You will be implementing objects like trash cans that allow you to easily throw things away. You'll be implementing light switches so you can turn the lights off and on. The exit door, when you click on it, that is what will end the game, okay? You'll be implementing possibly the hardest task is the whiteboard. So you'll be able to draw on the whiteboard in VR in a similar way to how you would in real life. Other tasks involve the copy machine, which will copy the nearest object, right, when you click on it. When you interact, the time of day will change, right? A big part of the CSE experience is watching time go by as you work away at assignments and projects, okay? And that will be a big part of this as well, all right? You'll be adding NPC characters to your environment, and these are entirely of your choosing, all right? And this is a big place where you can exercise some artistic intent, okay? When the designer chooses that their NPCs are going to be penguins, okay, and that they're going to be really salty about their current homework, maybe that says a little something about what the designer, what the author thinks about the situation, okay? Anyway, you'll get a chance to implement all these things. We got an NPC running around outside the windows. You've got the time of day changing as people interact, the sun setting and rising. We got Voldemort and Harry Potter over here. We've got the whiteboard that you can draw on, which is pretty cool. We got a fire alarm, which you'll have to implement, okay? And then at the very end of this project, in 2 weeks or so, you're going to implement a custom feature, a custom object and interaction of your choosing, okay? I'll be showing you some of these a little bit later, I think. But one of them, right, beer pong. One of the teams really wanted to implement beer pong. That was just a big experience of being a student for them at this university. And so they implemented it in the BBB laboratory, okay? We had one, I think, a year or so ago in which the BBB became haunted. And you had to kind of walk around carefully, and you had to find some Ghostbuster gear, and you had to clean the place out. This one, of course, I've already shown you, right? They watched The Matrix, enjoyed the film, and decided that, in fact, University of Michigan was The Matrix, okay? And they just had never seen it before, but now it was clear. And so they represented that with the little light switches. You can hit the red one, and you go to The Matrix, okay? Where you can fly around and do all sorts of good stuff. Again, what's the point here, right? We need to get you up to speed with building environments. A lot of my students actually go to work at various laboratories all over the university. And one of the first things that they ask for is, hey, do you have any students who can build me a certain environment? Build me the DIAC. Or, hey, we need someone to help us build a VR version of the nuclear energy facilities on campus, okay? And we need to be able to do that. We have to get a feel for how to build realistic, interactable environments in Unreal, and we're going to do that, okay? So this is to say, right, being able to build immersive and interactive environments is the first kind of foundational step for so many different applications, okay? For field trips, for visualizations, for exercise, for all of that stuff. So here's our schedule, okay? Here are the dates that matter. We got today, we got a week from now, a week after that, and then a final week, okay? You can split the projects in this course into 3 categories, okay? Engineering, design, and business/production. You can organize our assignments that way as well. Your first and major assignment right now is P1 milestone. Okay? What on earth is that assignment? P1 milestone. How many of you have taken 494 or 498? It's not really a thing in 498. 494 has the same structure, okay? When you go to these assignments, P1 milestone, when you click on it, you'll get this document, just like tutorial VR and tutorial AR, exploration AR, exploration VR. You got a nice explanation of what's going on, but the real thing that you're looking for is this P1 task spreadsheet, CSC simulator tasks, right here, okay? Right here. On this spreadsheet, every row is a task, okay? And every task you're going to want to try and complete, okay? So, for instance, here's a task. It's optional, and it's the Play Job Simulator task. You might want to, if you can, take 30 minutes and play Job Simulator. Get a feel for what a nice interactive environment is like. Or you can skip it. It is marked as optional after all, okay? You'll go through these tasks, and if it says P1 milestone in column F, that means that you need to have it done for Monday, okay? You've got 1 week to finish up these white row tasks, all right? And they'll be marked P1 milestone for you. Now, each of these tasks has a main name, a description with a checklist of things that you need, okay? For instance, you see this task that says block out the basic area structure, okay? It has an explanation of what we're talking about when we say blocking out, okay? But then it also has a bunch of these checkboxes. You're going to need walls, you're going to need floors, ceiling, right? Pillars, dividers, desktops, and table space, okay? These are the things that we will look for when we go to grade your tasks. And you want to have most of them done if you want to get full points, all right? So you'll look at the description to know what you need to do. Then you'll look at the hints column, column D, where you'll find a lot of help to get you started. Okay? You can look there and you can find links, usually videos, kind of pointing out what you should do. And you'll find advice, for instance, on what kind of nodes should you use? What kind of tool should you use in Unreal in order to cut out a window? Okay? Stuff like that. So it's not super complicated. You're looking at these white tasks. The red ones, you can see, are marked for P1 alpha. Okay? The white ones are P1 milestone. The red ones are P1 alpha. What does this mean? Well, P1 milestone is the current major assignment on your schedule. P1 alpha is going to launch in a week and be due in 2 weeks from now. Okay? And so you're going to want to start thinking about those tasks in order to get a start on it. Okay? But for now, just worry about the white tasks. Okay? Most of these are pretty straightforward. In fact, a couple of these we're going to do in class today. So we should probably get started on that as soon as we can. Some of the later tasks are pretty tough. Okay? For instance, getting NPC dialogue to work is not super easy. You can see this hint box is a mile long. Okay? You've got a lot of things you can click on, a lot of videos that you can watch. Usually, you click on the video and you should get links on the Google Doc. I think you might need to zoom out in order to get this to work sometimes. Yeah, sometimes you have to zoom out. And then when you click on the box, you'll get all those links so you can click on them. Okay? Anyway, in the very final sprint, the final week, P1 Gold, you'll have 2 final tasks, okay? And that's to create some sort of custom object and create some sort of custom logical interaction with them, okay? And by logical, I mean it involves some blueprints that you're programming, okay? And that's going to be it. A few fun examples. This is one of my favorites. It's a CSE Student Life Simulator minigame. Okay, let's take a look at it really quickly. It's hidden in a back room, actually. Let's take a look. So you enter this room and you have a few buttons. You can click the button to launch the simulation. Now you need to hit these buttons to do your homework, okay? So and pick up the phone for social life. You're getting too tired. You're too tired. You're near death.
Hey, it's Jimmy. What? It's 3 a.m. in the morning. I know that you're up, right? Yeah, anyway, I just saw this TikTok video that's like the hilarious TikTok video, and I sent you the link. Yeah, go. Hey, it's Jimmy. Wanna study together?
I'm not sure how to get your health back up. Days left in the semester. So every second is a day that passes, it seems. Okay, so health condition near death. Your social life ranking is engineer, which means basically 0. And there you go, right? So kind of a cute interactive minigame. It involves a lot of logic. And if you play this, right, if you come back, it's 2050, right, and you play this, you're going to get a sense of what the students felt about this life when you play that minigame, right? Being a CSE student in 2024 is pretty stressful, right? There's not a lot of time for your projects and your social life and your own health, right? And so you get a really good sense of what the authors felt about this time period by playing this, okay? Anyway, other things, right? An energy drink that alters your vision. That can be enough. These don't need to be huge, okay? I'll show you more of these later. But You drink an energy drink. Your vision is now altered for a little while. Okay, nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. I'm not sure if this would get full points because it's a little bit basic. But a hidden beer pong minigame, right? So you've got scoring. You have collisions you're detecting. You turn the fire alarm on. Yeah, turn the fire alarm on. Okay, go to the hidden room. You got beer pong going on. Okay. There's some logic that forces the ball to be returned once you miss, right? Which is really good.
Yay!
You've got audio, right? You've got some scoring. It's good stuff, right? Exactly what we're looking for. Not too complicated, but interesting enough and a good exercise for your skills, okay? Anyway, that's how it goes, all right? That is how it goes. So for this week, you're focused on the P1 milestone tasks. Next week, you'll focus on those red P1 alpha tasks, which are a bit harder, okay? And then in the final week, your mission is to fix up all the tasks that you missed and to do your custom object and your custom interaction, okay? And that can really be just about whatever you want, so long as it is sufficiently complex from a coding perspective. Okay? So think about it with your partner as soon as you can. During this time, you'll be doing the P1 project management assignment. And this is an assignment where you'll be using Jira, okay? You'll be using Jira in order to organize all those tasks, okay? You'll be using Jira in order to assign those tasks to your team members. Have any of you used Jira? Okay? So you already kind of know what we're dealing with here, right? Basically, you're going to have a board like this. You're going to create a sprint, create tasks for the sprint, and then you will take those tasks, you'll move them across the board as you start to work on them, and when they are finished, you'll move them to the done column. This is a really nice way to kind of help your teammates understand what progress you're making, what you're working on, and how things are going. Okay? You can also use the reports tab, right, in order to, for instance, see if you're on track or not. The P1 project management is a little bit hairy to set up, okay? Jira is a very big piece of software, a lot of ways for it to get messed up. So you'll have this very big document that you can watch. It's not actually that big. And tutorial videos you can watch to kind of get things set up properly and get a feel for what the assignment wants from you, okay? And also how it will be graded as well. So let me know if you have any questions on that. It's not a huge deal, but please don't neglect it, okay? A lot of pretty easy points sitting there. Now, after the project is finished, you'll get a week to rest. During that week, you're going to finish and write a little tiny essay, okay? Very tiny, very easy. All right, how many of you love writing essays? Okay? Yeah, pretty much no one. This is not the kind of essay that you deal with in a literature or English course. We do not care about your grammar. We don't care about your structure, okay? What you're going to do is you're simply going to reflect on the last 3 weeks, reflect on your project, and you're going to just dump your brain answering some easy questions. How'd the project go? What do you think you can improve for next time? Okay? Did you use your AI assistants at all to help you move faster? Okay? That kind of stuff. Super easy, not something to worry about. And most students really like it, actually. Just that opportunity to sit down, reflect, dump your brain, okay, no pressure, and then get a bunch of free points. All right? Sounds pretty good. So, some miscellaneous info for you. This is teams of 2, okay? On your final project, you'll have teams of 4 and 5. So, this is a really good chance to kind of vet your teammate, all right? Get a feel for whether they're a good fit for you, whether you want to work with them in the future, all right? You'll be using Unreal Engine, and the way you're going to submit, okay, every week is you're going to submit basically video demonstrations that walk us through all of your tasks, okay? The same thing you did for tutorial assignments and even exploration assignments, okay? And the final deliverable, however, at the very end, your gold deliverable, P1 Gold, is going to involve you submitting a video demonstration, but also all of your source code and your portfolio website. Okay? You're going to have this project video on your portfolio. If you don't have a portfolio website, how many of you have one? Oh, all right. You need one. Okay? If you want to get hired in creative industries, if you want to get hired in tech, a portfolio website is a huge complement to your resume. Okay? So you're going to build one in this course if you don't already have one. And we're going to fill it with a lot of really cool stuff. Okay? That is P1. It is not a super hard project. I think most students say that P2 is actually harder. That's the AR project. That is the Unity project. However, it's going to take some time to get used to Unreal and get used to blueprint scripting. And we're going to help you do that. Okay? Anyone have any questions before we get started with that? All right. Hey, you know what? We're halfway through. Let's take 5 minutes. I'm going to get the VR headset set up, and then we'll come back and we'll do some Unreal programming together. Okay? See you then. What's up?
Is there any way to like put your project like on the web or like get something? Because like
Of course.
if you're like, because I can't like access my computer sometimes or like someone else is on it.
So the first lecture we talked about using, actually I think it was second lecture, we talked about using Git to move your project from computer to computer.
Would the project be too large for Git though?
Well, it depends what repo you put it in. If you put it in GitHub has like a 100 megabyte limit. GitLab does not. So we highly recommend using GitLab for the repos in this course. Make things way easier. And we also recommend using GitHub Desktop. It's a great interface for using and working with Git repos. It's available on the Cane machines. And you can use GitHub Desktop with GitLab. It's fine. It works just fine.
Would you just use PowerShell like to like push and everything?
I usually don't use PowerShell. So GitHub for Desktop is a GUI program that replaces the terminal.
Okay.
It replaces the Git terminal. So you're no longer typing git pull. You've got a nice UI showing you what your changes are, asking if you want to commit them, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But you can use PowerShell and Git via terminal if you want to. Okay.
And then I just want to ask, like, for P1, like, do we have to like fulfill all the tasks, or if we do like most of it, and like it's already good enough?
So you need to have a non-trivial implementation of every task, except for, I think the rubric allows you to skip one normal task, so 2 tasks. This is something, each task has a different number of story points associated with it. This slightly affects grading. So tasks that are labeled 1 or 2, I think you're allowed to skip one of those. It doesn't impact your grade at all. Every task marked 3 is very valuable, and you do need to do them all if you don't want them to affect your grade. Okay?
Okay. And then if you do better on the bonus, can it make up for missed tasks? Like,
generally, no. There's no extra credit on this assignment or project. But there is extra credit later in the course and in general for giving feedback on assignments. So,
is like every feedback for assignment is like extra credit? Or like,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so cool. Here we are. What's up?
Trying to add my partner. This is access add people, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I did it, and he said he didn't get the email.
Does he have a different address?
I sent it was University of Michigan. It was
Okay. I would give it a little bit, like a couple
Does
minutes.
it need to have the account before the email can go through, or should the email
it shouldn't. It should send an email out, and then that will prompt him to create an account if he doesn't have one.
Okay. And then the PM mentions switching the roles, but I can't change the roles. I don't have access to. Like I can. Yeah.
Strange that you can't customize things. Does
This
it
is the
tell
same
you?
account I used for 494 as well. Hey, Daniel.
Oh, that might be affecting it. I don't know. I think there might be other ways to add admins or add access. Unless something has changed this semester, and I don't think so, because none of my 494 students have brought this issue up.
Gotcha.
So we might have to search through the UI. We can do that afterward during office hours.
Professor,
Hey.
do you know about an easier way to develop AR using a Mac from the PC than putting it into the drive?
That's tough. So you could try Git and putting your project into a Git repo, but you're still going to need to download that entire project to some extent. The nice thing about Git is that when you make changes on your Windows machine and push those changes, usually those changes aren't super heavy, right? Like you've changed some code or you've changed some small config text files. Like that stuff is light, like a couple kilobytes. You push that really quickly up to the cloud. If you're using Git, it'll detect that only that has changed. It'll pull it down and be super fast. If you're running into like long uploads and long downloads where you have to make you make a tiny change, that means a huge project has to be uploaded now and you have to download it. It could be much faster. It'd also be really good practice for just getting your version control ready for P1 and P2 and P3. So that's what I would recommend. Beyond going and asking a friend for like a cheap Android device they can borrow for a little bit, that's probably going to be your fastest, using version control to only bring over the things that you need. Yeah. And I would use GitLab instead of GitHub. Don't use GitHub. It's confusing. Use the GitHub for desktop application, but use that with GitLab repo, okay? And you'll be fine.
Okay. Is the process for Mac with GitLab much different than PC? Oh, okay.
Don't think so. Yeah, should be the same. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it, okay? Our mission is to build an immersive environment that looks good, right? That feels authentic, but it's also very interactable. One of your biggest tasks this week is right here in the interaction system task, okay? And the number of things we need to accomplish here is quite a lot, okay? If you think about interacting in a virtual space, right? How do we want to allow people to do that? What does it mean to interact with something or someone? Okay? This is a little bit HCI, but XR is kind of all about interesting user interfaces, so we got to talk about this a little bit. When you think about how humans interact, we really start doing that from a very early age, okay? When you think about literally newborn infants have not been alive for more than a few minutes, they come with a very limited set of interactions, right? How does a newborn infant interact with people IRL? How can they do it? They can basically just cry, right? They make a lot of noise, they get a lot of attention. That's basically the best that they can do. And it's not a lot of information coming through that interaction, okay? When a young child cries, they can't really impart what they care about or what their problem is. The only thing they can get attention for is that something is wrong, right? That's basically it, okay? However, over time, humans develop additional interaction techniques and capabilities, right? Eventually, you go from crying to pointing, right? A dramatic improvement. What can you do with pointing? What additional information comes from it? Daniel.
You can fill a ray.
Exactly, right? So we've moved from, something is wrong, to, that is wrong, right? Or I want that, or look at that, right? It's a much better interaction, okay? Eventually, we develop the ability to talk, right? And now, our ability to interact is dramatically refined and much more precise, much more rich, okay? And so, we go, as humans, from I want something to I want that thing to the ability to express basically any idea, right? From the most dramatic and deep, right? Mathematical, scientific, all that good stuff, okay? We are built for interactions. And you learn these things over time almost by default, okay? Humans are extremely good at interacting in many different ways, right? From just hanging out and talking to a sense of touch, right? To facial expressions, right? When you're interacting with a human, one of the first things that you'll notice is their demeanor, their mood, their vibe, right? There's a very big difference between, hey, how's it going, right? Hey, it's good to see you. Hey, you want to talk about something? Right? Versus, hey, how's it going? You want to talk about something? Right? The mood, the vibe is totally different, right? The way that someone holds themselves, the way they position their shoulders, right? What angle are they taking on? What tone is their voice? Do they look happy? Do they look sad? Do they look just kind of bored? Okay? We have so many ways we can interact with each other, right? Humans interacting with other humans is something we're very good at. But we have a huge problem with this project, okay? Our problem is that we're not interacting with humans on this project. We're interacting with computers. We're dealing in the world of HCI now, human-computer interaction, a topic so important, there's basically an entire school, the School of Information, dedicated to this and making this efficient and effective, okay? When it comes to human-computer interactions, this is an area of active research, okay? And very, very fun experiments going on. Simone Gertz, right? Very well known for making very fun robots that in some ways are very good at this, in some ways very comedically bad, okay? And then my favorite is the Roomba with a knife, all right? So how can we interact with computers? One way you're very used to at this point, but you probably weren't when you were younger, is via terminal, textual communications with a computer, okay? When you're interacting in a terminal, you've got a terminal or command prompt or PowerShell open, right? It's very fast and also very precise if you know what you're doing, but you need a specialized human with a lot of training in order to do this, okay? You can also, these days, interact with robots via voice, okay? Via natural language processing. How many of you have an Alexa device at home? Or maybe you have a Google, Hey Google device. Or you have an Apple AppKit device. So you're talking to Siri, right? And this is pretty great, isn't it? In some ways, right? But it also has problems. It's clumsy, right? It's nice because you don't have to use your hands to deal with this. It's also nice because your grandpa and grandma can interact and use this without any training. But it's very clumsy. Okay, not precise. They get it wrong all the time. They misunderstand you. How many of you have seen the Kinect device? Very famous. This came out of Xbox Game Studios about a decade or so ago. It is a device that uses a camera to kind of scan your body and then approximate a bone skeletal structure from that. So you can actually interact with software via your own body movements. And it's a very powerful way to interact. It's very expressive. You can play a lot of very interesting games, have interesting experiences doing this. However, it is ultra clumsy, and there's a big lag. If you look carefully at this GIF, you can see there's like a second lag, or about half-second lag, and it doesn't feel very good, okay? If you've played any projects or any games with this, Sonic Free Riders was famous for how poor its implementation of these controls were, just getting confused all the time. You know, the technology just wasn't perfect, all right? And so, well, what do we have left? Here's the classic video game interface, the controller, okay? This is a very fine-tuned and optimized way to interact with devices and robots and software these days. In fact, you will find people in the Department of Defense, right, in the military using recreational Xbox controllers to control like million-dollar devices. It's amazing. However, as fast and as efficient as these devices are, they do require a specialized human, okay? It is very difficult to use these devices unless you've grown up with them, unless you have a ton of experience with them. And so we have all these ways to interact with the digital world, and none of them are what we want. So what are we going to do? Well, we can do a couple things, okay? We're going to combine the efficiency, the lightning-fast speed of a controller with the accessibility of, let's see, this, the gesture of pointing, okay? This is what your VR controllers are. If you look at them, they are in many ways the simplest controllers out there. They have fewer buttons, fewer inputs on them, and also in most games you can simply point at the thing that you want. They usually have kind of a pointer fingery shape to them, and that is enough to get the job done. Okay, so we're going to use a hybrid approach. We're going to use a limited set of buttons, and we're going to use the gesture of pointing, something that humans have known how to do since they were children, okay? Something that is so effective and elemental that you can actually use it on canines. And many canines will look at where you're pointing, and they'll kind of know how to deal with that and what you're trying to tell them, okay? And so that's what we're going to do, and you can see an example of this here. We're going to build an interaction system that allows us to point, right, like any toddler could, and interact with objects using a single button press, okay? That trigger on the back of the button, okay? And that is what we're going to do. It's a very, very simple and very accessible means of interaction, and it's also expressive enough that we can get our entire program finished just with that, okay? So here is how our development is going to go over the next 30 minutes, okay? Here is our process. Number one, how do we implement a point gesture? We've got some technology we've been using on Tutorial VR. You remember what it's called? It's not a raycast. That's what it's called in Unity. In Unreal, it's called a line trace. And again, one of the tough parts about learning different game engines is that you know they've got the same stuff under the hood, but they've named it differently. And so sometimes you can struggle to find it or find the documentation you need for it. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to have a line trace that's going at all times. The objective of that line trace is going to be to fill up a variable, an actor variable, a variable of type actor, and that variable is going to be called current hovered actor, okay? This variable at all times is going to represent what is our player pointing at, okay? And so we'll be able to use that variable later on. We're also going to create some code where we can detect a trigger press, okay? We'll detect the trigger press, and then later we can decide to do something based on what we're currently pointing at, okay? But we'll focus on that later. For now, it's the selection system, okay? So this has changed a lot. Its name keeps changing, this input. So this is something that you definitely need to keep in mind as we get started here, okay? The first thing we got to do is we got to make sure it's working at all. So let's go ahead and jump into this. I'm going to go ahead and put the headset on, and let's see here. Get this around my big head. Okay, look around to get it calibrated. I think I've got enough space here. Okay, look around. Okay, good. All right. Now let's go ahead and see if we can get this running. So click. Okay. All right, and you remember our pretzels from last time, right? You remember that? So we'll get our controller showing up. Does this look okay to you? How does it look, everyone? So in my view, this is a super laggy, but my stomach is very hardened from years of teaching this course, so I feel nothing. Anyway, all right. As long as it looks good enough for you, that's fine. Okay, so good. It's running. Like, really important first step. So what do we want to do first? Well, I want to get that line trace going, and I want to get us clicking that trigger, okay? We need to go in to the code that allows us to do some pointing. So that's going to be the VR pawn. This is kind of the same thing you've done in your tutorial VR, so some of this should seem familiar. But remember, as I go through this, remember this, all right? You can go back. You can watch this recording, and hopefully it'll be pretty nice. You can take it at your own pace and kind of ruminate on whatever I say, okay? But don't feel like you have to keep up and understand everything I do here. So the first place we want to look is the VR pawn. This is the actor that represents the player and gives us all of our abilities, from warping to making our hands move around and be visualized. You put a wand in our hand during tutorial VR, and if you want to know what makes VR pawn such a special actor, why is that the one that represents the player? Well, actually, it has to do with something called world details. And I have to find it in here. Where is it? Let me see. Oh, there it is. No, sorry, world settings. When you go to the world settings page, you'll actually find a bunch of options in here. And one of those should be the player actor, okay? Where's the game settings, actually? Okay, VR game mode. The game mode is what we care about. The game mode is a little asset that we can configure with different settings. When we click on that game mode, VR game mode, we'll see that the player, let me see here. The default pawn class, which is what we spawn in as, is the VR pawn, okay? And so that's confirmation that we will spawn in as the VR pawn, and so we should investigate that blueprint first, okay? So when we double click on the VR pawn, we have this big batch of code here, okay? And it's a really important skill for you to be able to basically look in to an existing big piece of code and kind of look through it, kind of figure out vaguely what's going on. You don't need to understand everything, but then hone in on the place where you should add your own logic, okay? So we got some movement code right there. We got some teleporting code. It's super cool, but I don't care about that, okay? We got some grabbing code, okay? That's kind of interesting, okay? Grabbing code. I want something to do with the trigger, okay? Something to do with the trigger. Can we find that? We come down here, IA hand grasp left, okay? What about IA hand index curl, okay? This seems like a very promising place to start. So, should we go ahead and do it? Okay, let's go ahead and insert some code here to get a feel for how this particular thing works. And it looks like this stuff over here is all about the animation. So I don't think I care too much about that. I think I can get rid of it without blowing us up here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go to the completed tab. The completed tab. So when the action is finished, right? When hopefully our trigger finger, our index finger finishes pressing in, hopefully this will trigger, and we want to test that. Okay, we want to test that by printing some sort of message. Let's go ahead and print a message, trigger. Okay? I'll make it nice and long so that hopefully we can see it when we test. So I might need your help on this. Okay, I'm going to save Control Shift S, and then compile. Hopefully, we're going to see that triggered message, and only one of them when I pull the trigger. It's going to be in the corner. I might struggle to see it because these headsets are kind of low resolution. So I might need your help. Okay. Okay. So let's get into it right here, and tell me if triggered shows up. Okay. Okay. Ready? Oh, okay. Hello. All right. I'm very laggy. Are you laggy at all? Yeah, wow, that's super laggy. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Okay, I'm going to pull the trigger. Okay, do you see anything?
Yeah.
How many? How many messages did you see?
Oh, there were two. Like
Two.
Upper left.
Okay. Two definitely isn't what we want.
I think it's what?
Think so?
It's like a blue and a.
I think the top left is like maybe the bottom right is you have a message.
Okay, it's supposed to be top left. Now I'm lagging so badly here that where I'm kind of struggling to show you. That's a bit concerning. Hopefully that resolves. Otherwise, I might have to kill the stream or something. That would not be good either. I might have to show you the footage from last semester, which is much cleaner. So one thing that we need to do here, that I just know from doing this before, we actually have to go in and edit how this input works. And we can do that. We can go to IA hand index curl left. We're going to do that. Go to IA hand. Let's search in all the folders. And we're looking for index curl left. Right here it is. When we open this, this allows us to kind of tweak what our input event, how it works, okay? Now, in the past, I've always had to change this value type to digital, okay? And this means it will only give us one little trigger message. It will only trigger at the end of our press and only once, okay? And so I think we're probably good. Actually, I think we might need to add a trigger here. Do we need to? Click plus. Yeah, let's go to pressed, okay? Let's try that. Okay, and change that to pressed. Control Shift will save this. And now, maybe I can kill my browser. Maybe that will help us perform better, hopefully. Maybe I can kill Discord. Maybe that'll help us perform better. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, hopefully this runs better. We'll see. But anyway, we got to test one more time to make sure that the trigger is working the way that we expect. That looks much smoother. Hopefully it's smoother on my end. Okay. Can we put it up like this? Nice. All right. I'm not even looking. I'm just looking at my screen. This works perfectly. I press the left trigger once, and I only get one message. All right. And it doesn't come back until I press the second, third, fourth time. All right. Excellent. That is just what we want. And yeah, it's running much better. It's very strange. Okay, so this is a really good start. But now what we need is we need to get a line trace going, right? We're going to do some stuff when that trigger happens later. But right now, we need to get back into our VR pawn. Okay, there it is. Double click, go back into the code. And we need to be doing something to detect what is the player pointing at any given moment. So here's what I want to do. We need to run some logic, and we need to do so every frame, okay? Every frame of our game. So in order to do that, we need to find an event that's going to run every frame. Now, in Unity, this would be called update. But in Unreal, it actually has a different name, okay? It's called event tick, okay? Now, I don't think it's being used currently, so we're going to go create it at the very bottom, okay? I'm going to right-click. I'm going to go event tick, and boom, there it is. Perfect, all right? Now, if I put a message here, like print text or print string, actually, I want print string. Let's try print string, okay? Okay? I'll just get rid of that, okay? If I put tick here, Control-Shift, and then compile, if we run this project, you're going to see, do you see that tick message? The tick message is just flying down there as fast as it can go. Actually, this is very smooth. Smoother in my headset than it is on the screen. Okay, so that's exactly what we want. Now, we want to run a line trace here, okay? And our objective is to determine what we've hit. What is the player currently highlighting? What are they pointing at? Now, I could put a bunch of code here, but I'm not going to do that, okay? You know why? Because I want the code to stay kind of organized. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a new function. I'm going to go over to my little functions page on the left where I can see all the functions that currently exist in this blueprint on this class. And I'm going to click the plus button. I'm going to name this. What should we name it? Let's call this determine hovered actor. Okay? The goal of this function is going to be to set a certain variable. We have all of our variables down here just below our functions. All right, a bunch of them already exist, but we want a new one to store that hovered actor. I'm going to call this current hovered actor. It's currently of type Boolean, so I'm going to change that to type actor, okay? Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there we are. This will allow us to store a reference to the cubes we point at, to the table we point at, to the pistols if we point at them. Anything we point at can go into this variable, okay? So we've got this new function, and if we return out to our event tick, right, we can now call that function. I can pull the execution line right out there, and I can go determine, and it will find our function right there, okay? If I double click it, we go into that function. So we need to go ahead and run a line trace, all right? The line trace, can you close the door, Daniel? It's kind of, we're hearing a bunch of people. We need to use that line trace node, okay? So let's search for line trace and see what we get. Line trace by channel is just fine, okay? By channel, you can use, I believe, the channel system here to kind of change what you can hit, or what you want to hit versus what you don't want to hit. Let's not worry about that now. For now, what I want to do is I want to perform a line trace, but I want to perform a line trace not from any location to any other location. I want to start my line trace at the tip of my controller, okay? Now, how do we do that? Well, if you remember back to tutorial VR, when you look at the VR pawn, we actually have some components in here that will help us, okay? I think the name of the components might have changed, but we have motion controller left aim, okay? Now, this might be what we want, okay? We might have to test it. We also have motion controller right grip. So what should we use? Well, we're going to have to experiment a little bit, I think. We also have a hand left, which is very interesting. So maybe we want to try that one. Anyway, let's go ahead and grab one of these and we'll test it out, okay? Let's go back to our determine a hovered actor function, and I'm going to pull my hand left out. Okay, this is an actor, I think. Maybe we could get the location. Can we get location? Get world location. All right, fantastic. This is exactly what we need, hopefully. So let's plug this into our start location. And I'm also going to change this line trace to make it easier for us to see. Okay, debug draw type. I'm going to change this to for one frame. Okay, I think we can also set the color. Okay, so the trace color is red. Very good. And let's go ahead and Control-Shift-S and compile, and let's see what happens. Notice that when we're developing in VR, we want to do it in a very iterative fashion. We want those iterations to be very, very tight, okay? Very small. So you make a tiny change, and then you go back into testing and you make sure that change does what you think it will do, okay? In this way, if something goes wrong, we can recover really quickly. All right, so I got my controllers here. We're looking for that ray trace. Look at that. Do you see it? I got a red line that starts at my hand, which is perfect. And it goes to 0, 0, 0. This is exactly what our code, what we thought it was going to do. Okay? So that's very good. It's not finished, but at least it's doing what we thought it was going to do. Okay? And I'm going to see if I can just kind of put this on my headset and kind of keep it there. You have to kind of adjust it a little bit, maybe make it a bit tighter. Okay? All right. So, what should we do now? Well, we want the line trace to not just go to 0, 0, 0. That's not very useful. That's not pointed. We want the line trace to actually go out from our hand so that we can easily point at the thing we want to interact with. The question is, how do we get that position? All right? This is an X, a Y, and a Z. Okay, it's a vector. Which means we're basically calculating a 3D position. We want to get the location of our left hand, our left controller, but then we want to get the direction that we're pointing in, and then multiply that direction out a ways, okay? So we get the point that is out ahead of our controller. So we can actually use this get world location again, but we also have to get the direction that this hand left is pointing in. Now you can always get that using the get forward vector value. So we've got the position of our controller and the direction it's pointing in. If we add these two things together, we'll get a point that is in front of our hand. But we need to be very far in front of our hand. So we need to do some multiplication first. We need this forward vector to not be just a tiny little unit directional vector. We need to be massive, okay? Let's extend that into the distance by doing a multiplication. I'm going to go ahead and let's go multiply. I want a multiply node. I want a float. So make float, okay? What kind of float do we want? Well, I want to really reach out there very far. So why not? Let's try like 5,000 for now. So we're taking this forward vector and we're just extending it way out into the distance in the direction our hand is pointing, okay? Now, we've got this big directional vector, but we need to add it onto the location of our left controller in order for it to actually point in front of the controller. So we need an add operation as well. And so I'll go ahead and feed this in, the directional vector. Hopefully this is going to work. Yep, there we go. I'll add it to the world location, and then we've got our final end location, hopefully. Hopefully I did that math okay. You can see things are getting a little bit spicy here, all right? With our nodes, math in general is very clumsy to do in visual scripting. This would be much, much easier in a textual language like C#, which I'll get to show you a little bit later. Anyway, we've written some code, we've done some math, and it's very easy to mess that up. So let's go ahead and test, all right? I've got squarely on my head here, click the button, and let's see how this goes, okay? Okay, I've got my controllers. They look pretty good. Uh-oh. You see this? We got a problem here. Okay, I'm pointing forward, but what's happening? Anyone see?
Going down.
Yeah, it's going down. Okay, that is not what we wanted. All right? So on this object, on this component, we might not want the forward vector, actually. Okay, we might want the right vector or the up vector or something else like that. But this is why you test, right? So let's go to our viewport. I'm going to look at my left hand just a little bit more. Oh, do you see it? Look at that. When I pull the left hand out, it's a bit more obvious. The green arrow that's kind of buried in the hand is probably what we want. The forward arrow, the red one, is coming down out of the hand, okay? Which means the forward vector is actually not set up the way that it normally is, okay? Maybe it's this 3D model's a bit messed up. Something's messed up, okay? It's not our fault, though. But what we should know is that the green arrow is what we want. And I'm pretty sure this is the up arrow, okay? So let's see what's going on, okay? I'm going to move that hand back, actually. Cool, all right. Let's go and let's try out get up vector. There it is, right there. It's a nice node we can just use, okay? One really tough thing about programming in game engines, especially if it's your first time, is that you might not know that the up vector is something you can just get, or the forward vector exists, or the right vector exists. You might just not know. Many of these techniques will kind of get burned into your memory while you do the project. And the project, remember, it has that hints column, which is there to help you, okay? Help you know about nodes that might be useful on the task. So don't be intimidated too much by that, okay? Okay, let's try this again. Hopefully it goes a little bit better this time. But if not, we can do more experimenting. Okay, gonna go ahead and launch. All right, here we go. Okay, and oh, what's going on here? Oh, is it going back to 0? Oh, it's because I think I reverted some of my code with a Control-Z. Oh, I didn't plug it in. I forgot to plug it in. So here we plugged it in. I think I had an errant extra Control-Z that did that. Okay, so we get in there. Okay. Oh, and now it's coming out this direction. So it's actually going up like that. That is very strange. Okay. Let's try the last one. Let's try. Yes, what's up? What's that? You can rotate the left hand in the viewport. Historically, though, it doesn't do anything because when you start the game, the left hand will basically take on whatever position and orientation your controller has. Now, that might not be the case. We can investigate that next. But that's how it worked in earlier versions of the engine. So let's see what this looks like. Now we're using the right. Oh my gosh, that worked perfectly. Fantastic. You see that? So actually, I got that messed up. Now, we wanted the right vector, okay? And hey, that's why you experiment, okay? And that's why you move slowly so you can quickly resolve these bugs, all right? If we wrote a ton of code and then tested after like 30 minutes of typing, then we wouldn't know where to start when we debug. But because we're debugging really quickly, and with only little changes in between each session, it's really easy to know where to go, okay, when something goes wrong. And things will go wrong. All right, so we're hitting stuff. That's fantastic, okay? But our mission with this function, its objective is it needs to fill that variable, okay? You remember that variable, it's right down here. It's hanging out there, current hovered actor, okay? We have this hit variable that's coming out of our raycast. That contains a bunch of information about the thing that we hit. Where did we hit it? Which actor did we hit? And so what we can do is we can break that hit. We can use this node right here to break the hit, and then we can get the actor. Okay, which actor did you hit? It's this one. So we can pull this variable out and say, I want to set the current hovered actor. And what do you want to set it to? Well, I want to set it to that hit actor, the actor that our line trace hit. Okay? All right. Cool. Good stuff. All right. So now to test this, what I want to do is I want to print the actor that I'm hitting. Okay? We're going to go back to our main event tick here in the event graph. We're outside the function now. After we run this function, what I want to do is I want to print the name of that thing that we hit. I can go grab the variable. I'm going to print the variable. So get the variable. This is an actor, so I want to get the actor's name. I think it's get display name. And I'm going to put that display name in to our print string node. So hopefully, if everything is going okay, we're going to print the name of anything that we point at. We're going to do that every frame. So let's see. Okay. So you tell me what it says. All right. What does it say? It's really fuzzy for me. It says floor. What does it say now? Wall? It says pretzel blueprint. Okay. Now it says cube. Now it says a sky ball. Okay. Now we've got grab actor, and now we've got pistol. Okay. Rock and roll. All right. It's working exactly the way we wanted. Our selection system is moving forward and getting there. All right. But selection isn't the only thing that we really care about. Now, I had to kill my browser to get things to work okay. I'm going to have to get that open real quick. But we've built a system here where we know we have a variable. And that variable is always going to tell us what is the user pointing at right now. And that's fantastic. That's a really good start. Okay? I'll go ahead and log in. This will take me a minute. We might go a little bit long today, okay? You can leave if you've got someplace you got to go. Don't worry, you can catch the recording. I think the recording's going to be okay. If the recording isn't okay, I'll just upload last semester's recording, which I know was excellent. And you can just follow that if you want to. Okay? So we're finished with our selection system, right? We have the ability to point, but the question is, how do we trigger an interaction? Okay? What does it mean to create an interaction? And how can we begin setting up what we call affordances? Okay. This is the second major part of our implementation, okay? And this is something that's going to be a bit tricky, but if you understand it, P1 will become extremely easy, okay? So what is an affordance? Does anyone know? It's kind of a unique word. You don't hear it a ton. An affordance is some action that an object affords you, okay? Right? An object, like a sandwich, affords you the ability to munch it, okay? An exit door affords you the ability to leave, okay? A stapler affords you the ability to connect two pieces of paper together, all right? And so affordances are actions you can take in association with an object, all right? On the Sims team, we used affordances quite a lot. In fact, we had something called an AOP, an affordance object pair, okay? A TV, right, is an object that pairs with the affordance of watching it, okay? And so a sim can use that AOP to watch the TV. Another example is a slide, right? This slide from The Sims affords you the ability to slide over it, okay? This bathroom affords you the ability to use the bathroom, okay? On one of my tinier games, right? This is a game, an adventure game. You're walking around, you're exploring, you're investigating the environment, you're collecting things. And so objects in that environment can be given affordances, all right? If you look at this object in Unity, the game was made in Unity, this piece of paper right here has some components on it, and it has an affordance, the document affordance. It allows you to read it. When you interact with this paper, we'll automatically detect this document on it, and we will allow you to read it. If you look at this apple right here, which you can find in the environment, this apple is a game object that has a bunch of other components. One of those components is an affordance called collect, collect. It allows you to pick up the apple and put it in your inventory, okay? And so affordances are everywhere. This door, if you interact with the door, all of its affordances will trigger, and one of those affordances is allowing you to travel to a new location, okay? And so affordances is some action that an object affords you, okay? And so here's what we're going to do, all right? We're going to create an exit door that prints a goodbye message, and then it quits the game. Those are two different affordances that this exit door will allow you. All right? And so here's how we're going to do it. We are going to represent all the affordances that an object has, that an actor has, in the form of components. Okay? We're going to have two of them, and they look like this. All right? We're going to have an AF message component, and that message component will have one customizable variable. Okay? One public variable where we can put our own message. And the other one, right? The other one, AF quit, is not going to have anything customizable about it. It's just going to quit the game when we run it. Okay? So, how do we implement these two components? Right? We're going to use blueprints. Okay? But we really want to be able to run our logic when someone interacts with that actor. Now, there's an event right here that's really convenient, okay? It's event begin play. This is an event that automatically runs for us when the game begins. And this event tick automatically runs every frame 60 times per second as the game is being played. The question is, how do we get an event for interaction? Okay? When the player clicks on and interacts with an object, how do we get an event that allows us to respond to that? Okay? It would be so nice if we had an interact event, but one does not exist. Okay? One simply does not exist. Look at this right here. We wish we had this. Wouldn't this be great? But it doesn't exist, sadly. But could we create it? The answer actually is yes. Okay? We can create a new, air quotes, event. We can call it interact, and we can make sure that it always runs when someone clicks on our actor. Okay? And so we could implement our AF quit component just like this. All right? We could implement our AF message component just like this. Very, very simple blueprints, okay? All they use is one event and then one node. And our AF message component only uses one variable, the message that we want to print, all right? So the question is, how do we create this new event? We need to create another lifecycle function, all right? And so here's how we're going to do it. We're going to create an affordance system. We're going to have an affordance base class. Okay? This is where your EECS 280 or EECS 281 come in handy, all right? We're going to use inheritance and a bit of polymorphism to set up a situation where we have an affordance base class that all of our affordance components will derive from. This base class is going to have an interact function on it. This guarantees that all of our components have some sort of interact function on them that we can call. Okay, this is our lifecycle function. It's similar to start, to begin play, update, event tick. Okay, it's very similar. And then we're going to create some classes that derive from that affordance base class. Right? We're going to have AF toggle actors. That can be an affordance that actually toggles the light switch on and off when we click it. It can be the affordance that toggles trash near a container on and off, okay? Stuff like that. So that is what we're going to do. However, I'm thinking that we should actually hold that for Wednesday, okay? Wednesday sounds pretty good to me. You can work on the selection system in the next few days if you want, or you can work on blocking out and gray boxing the area, okay? Make it look nice, get that stuff started. And then I think on Wednesday, maybe when there's more people, we will finish up this interaction system. We'll get affordances going. We can program some components for you. And hopefully this will begin to make sense as you work on it during Project 1. Okay? Anyway, I think that is pretty much everything I want for today. What do we have next time? Do we have anything? Nope. It's all good. All good for next time. All right? Okay, does anyone have any questions on what we've done so far? No? Okay. The takeaway is this. We're using a combination of variables in Unreal and the line trace node in Unreal in order to always know what the player is pointing at all times. That is very, very powerful, and it's something we're going to use on Wednesday to build a much more deluxe interaction system. Okay? On Wednesday, we're going to be using what you know from EECS 280 and 281 in terms of using inheritance to set up polymorphism. What does that mean, polymorphism? Okay? Well, what it typically means is you refer to a base class in order to manage and manipulate a ton of diverse, different child classes. Okay? We don't care which affordance your actor has. When we click on it, we're going to call all the affordances. And we know that every affordance has an interact function on it, and we're going to call it, okay? No matter if that's the quit affordance that allows you to quit the game, or whether that's the toggle affordance, which allows you to turn the lights off and on, or whether that's the copy machine affordance that copies the nearest object when you click on the copier, okay? It doesn't matter which affordance your actor has, okay? We're going to call them all. And that's going to make for a very nice interaction system where if you want to add some unique interaction to an object, you just create a quick new blueprint, you derive from affordance, and boom, you're already working. That's it. Easy. Scalable. Very nice. Okay? Anyway, that's all I have for you. I'm going to stick around for the next hour. It is office hours time. If you've got difficulties on your tutorials, I'd be happy to help you. If you want to get started on Project 1, I encourage you to do so. I'm going to finish putting the teams together very soon. Probably just after office hours, I'll announce that. Otherwise, remember, you get a sticker, a pretty cool sticker if you beat the game on the website. Yeah, I hope you have a fantastic time, okay? We'll see you Wednesday. Good luck with the career fair stuff. I remember it was a very stressful time for me, but you will get through it, okay? And remember, right, dream job, forget those dream jobs, okay? Your career is long. You will have the opportunity to work toward whatever job you want during your long and productive career, okay? Go get a solid job, okay? You might be surprised at where you enjoy working at, okay? But just go out, get all the job offers you can. That gives you a lot of options, and do the best you can, okay? No regrets. All right. I'll see you all later. And take care, everyone watching the recording and online. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.